We got big leaks about some future PlayStation games. 11 or even 12 Assassin's Creed titles are in development. We got a ton of things to go over in this weekly news roundup video. I appreciate you being here. Let's do some quick ones first. We namely got an update on that Red Dead Redemption re-release or remaster that we discussed last week. So as you probably know, the game got a brand new rating for undisclosed platforms in Korea, which usually means that something is releasing soon. And we now learned that Take-Two actually plans to launch 2 new iterations of previously released titles in fiscal 2024, which is between now and April 2024. And Ben also shared on Twitter that this would include ports or remastered titles, but that sequels would not fall into this category. So basically confirming what I speculated about in last week's Sunday video, that the Red Dead Redemption re-release is a remaster and not a remake that some people were hoping for, which I totally get. Still, I think a remaster could be cool. And to add even more fuel to the fire, Colin Moriarty, who has been right many times before, said that he saw behind the scenes confirmation that this indeed real and that the announcement and even release could come as soon as August. And August is Gamescom, with Gamescom opening night live now being announced for Tuesday, August 22nd. So maybe we see it here. Last year we had big stuff like the reveal of Dead Island 2, Lords of the Fallen, a new Tales from the Borderlands, Lies of P, Atlas Fallen, etc, etc. It was a pretty big show. Maybe we get some Rockstar goodness this year. Or that rumored Final Fantasy IX remake. Remember the Nvidia leak that I would argue is the biggest leak in the gaming industry ever, as it revealed a ton of projects from almost every company that were in development on PC using the Nvidia streaming technology, I think to help during COVID when everyone was working from home. So ever since this leak, a lot of these games have been properly revealed or even released, as you see while scrolling through this perfect Reddit page from Lost Grail, keeping track of everything. Now most things from Square Enix are revealed and sometimes even released as well, like Kingdom Hearts 4 is even a real thing. Only the Final Fantasy IX remake has not been announced. Well, Jeff Grubb, who also has a great track record, on a recent podcast said that he heard very recently that the game is real, although it won't be a remake on the same level as Final Fantasy VII. It should instead be somewhere between that and Crisis Core, and I even liked what they did with Crisis Core, so this does sound cool, and it should feature the same combat, so 9 had turn-based combat. Look, I'm down after the 7 remake, can't wait for Rebirth. Crisis Core again, I thought was great, and Final Fantasy 16 is amazing, so more Final Fantasy, I'm all for it. I also never played 9, so I would totally try this remake. Of course, curious to hear if you would be down in the comments down below. Now let's talk Assassin's Creed and PlayStation. Of course, if you like these Sunday videos, then leaving a like is the best way to show your support. Would be really appreciated. And of course, subscribe, because I post one of these news roundup videos every Sunday. So yeah, we started with 2 re-releases, because yes, remakes are only going to get more popular as they can sell really well, they don't have a lot of risk, and cost relatively less to make, while the budgets for big new AAA titles are rising, like 200 million at least, to make some of the recent Sony titles, as we discussed before, thanks to a poorly redacted court file. And that's also one of the reasons why Ubisoft is going down that route with the Splinter Cell remake, the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake, whenever that is coming out, and now of course the Black Flag remake that we learned about recently. And this, according to Tom Henderson, who has many sources inside Ubisoft, brings the total number of Assassin's Creed titles currently in development to 11. You see them right here, and a few things stand out. Yes, 3 listed for this year, but I personally don't think Jade is coming out in 2023, as they're still doing a lot of technical tests, and Ubisoft also did not have it for their current financial year, which ends April 2024. So I think summer of next year is more realistic, which means that we get 2 massive open world RPG Assassin's Creed games in 2024, because of course we also get Red, which is still planned for 2024. Now Hexe and Invictus, the PvP multiplayer game by For Honor and Rainbow Six Siege developers, now are both for either 2025 or 2026. So Ubisoft will totally have a new Assassin's Creed game in 2025, like we're going to see a new release every year from now on again. But it's interesting that it could either be the Witch Hunt European medieval Hexe game from the Valhalla makers or the multiplayer title. I still think it's the multiplayer title would make more sense, but it of course depends on the development time that they need. And then we got still some very early titles, with the highlights for me being Nebula, the game from Ubisoft Sofia, known for Rogue, Curse of the Pharaohs, and they recently did Dawn of Ragnarok. This should include 3 different settings: India, Aztec Empire, and the Mediterranean. Like, I think that this could be really cool. Fingers crossed. And then Raid, I think, could be interesting as well. Should be a free-to-play, a 4-player co-op game. Like, I want a good multiplayer AC title that I can play with friends. So, hope this turns out well. And if you think 11 is a lot, I think it's way too much. Well, there are even other rumors circling around about another Assassin's Creed game, Titans. I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's 4chan, but this game keeps coming up, so I still wanted to, like, talk about it briefly. Was first a Monster Hunter style game, but now a looter brawler where you pick a class based on recent games. You see the classes right here. And then we should go fight important historical figures that are anomalies in the animus, like William Wallace, Julius Caesar, and Attila the Hun. Should be a hub area with assassins from the previous games being vendors where we can buy stuff. Like, I really hope this is false, but again, it keeps coming up, so still wanted to bring it up. Like, this sounds like something Ubisoft would make 5 years ago, but I hope that right now they learned from all their failed Battle Royale experiments, or forcing Ghost Recon into a loot-driven Destiny type of game. Like, you can't completely change a franchise into a genre of a game that you want. Which may be also why The Last of Us multiplayer did not work. So the last update we heard about The Last of Us multiplayer title is that it was facing setbacks and was delayed. Was that segue a bit too fast? Either way, we got some big PlayStation news to go over. So yeah, The Last of Us multiplayer game and not doing too hot. I still hope they figure it out, as this was like one of the only of the 12 live service games from Sony that I was actually looking forward to, next to the Horizon Monster Hunter online game, of course. But yeah, releasing a mediocre Last of Us game could do more hurt than good. Either way, we now got a new leak from Daniel RPK, who has a credible track record, but also some misses. So take it with a grain of salt. He's talking about potential Last of Us 3 info, although I wonder if it's for the third game. Either way, he says part of the plot will be about a group of scavengers surviving on the outskirts of a post-apocalyptic city, crammed into a Victorian house that serves as their base. Then he goes on to list some names for new characters, 3 males, 2 females that will be in this game. But yeah, the Victorian house like kind of sounds like San Francisco, which was the location for the Last of Us multiplayer title, and having a base could also be the perfect hub for an online game. So maybe he got things mixed up and it is for the Factions title instead. Still though, a third game seems to be coming. Naughty Dog already confirmed to be working on a new single player experience as well, and we now have a more credible leaker, Fewer Unknown, saying that they have been very vocal for a while that The Last of Us Part 3 is in development, and others are finally noticing. They also noted that major filming, so likely motion capture, is happening this year, and that they heard Ellie is at least as important in Part 3 as she was in Part 2, which I think makes sense. Like, I've always said that I wish Naughty Dog would just work on a new IP, but with how much Neil has been involved with the TV show, likely getting a ton of new ideas for the future as well, and that show being the most watched HBO show ever, I do think it makes sense that they finish the Last of Us story first with the third game and then finally start on a clean slate. That would be a more logical step, I think, than making a new IP and then Part 3. And maybe if the multiplayer game doesn't work out, they're still able to use some of those stories and characters and assets in the third game. I'm curious when they will announce it. Of course, let me know your take on Part 3 and these leaks in the comments down below. We should at least hear new info on Rise of the Ronin soon. This game stole the show at the State of Play last year, and well, now Soldier Delta on the Snitches Discord shared leaked images that I sadly can't share in full here, but does make this leak more credible. Like, you see a bit of the map here. It's basically Ghost of Tsushima mixed with Assassin's Creed and more Souls-like gameplay, while the game will still have difficulty options. And the leak overall kind of confirms what we already thought. It's going to be very Ubisoft-like. There will be skills and technique trees, performance and quality modes, planned romance options, and it's already planned for Q1 2024, which is totally earlier than I expected. So still weird that we did not see it at the PlayStation Showcase. Maybe because we get a second PlayStation Showcase this year, like there are rumors again of a second one coming. Microsoft also revealed in court documents that Sony is planning to launch a PS5 Slim at the end of this year for $399. Which would also be the perfect announcement at a showcase. They still need to give more details on that remote play handheld device that is also planned for this year. They did release new gameplay though for Helldivers 2, also planned for 2023, but that could totally use like another big push. So add Rise of the Ronin to that list, Stellar Blade that still has a 2023 date, and I think you already got a solid lineup. And the previous showcase, of course, did not do a great job at revealing what is happening beyond Spider-Man. So they could throw a ton of announcements like that in as well. Still, I'm of two minds. Like, I don't want to get my hopes up. They could also just do a state of play where they put some of these titles in. And that's kind of it. And then the rest of their focus will be on Spider-Man 2. Which will of course be massive either way. And we now learned that they will have a huge Comic-Con panel on Thursday, July 20th. Get a behind the scenes look at Insomniac Games' take on the monstrous Venom and how the symbiote plays a role in the sequel. It's a whole age show, so again, it should be huge. I totally expect at least one new trailer for 2018 Spider-Man. So the original, they brought the story trailer during a similar panel. So we'll of course be watching and covering it here, so subscribe to not miss that. And this coming week will kind of be a surprise of what you can expect here. July is usually quiet. We're also going to kind of like slow down for the next 2 weeks of July, so probably prepare some videos for that as well. The Sunday videos are still happening though at the end of the week, so subscribe to not miss it. A like on the video would of course really help me out. And check out last week's Sunday video with more info on the Black Flag remake, etc. by clicking on the screen. I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.